Good morning, friends, and welcome to the Avenue Uniting Church in Blackburn, Victoria. My name's Rod Peppiatt, and in just an hour or so, we will meet here as a community on the land of the Wurundjeri people. And our focus will be twofold. One is that we are giving thanks and farewelling a very dear friend who has been our office administrator for a very long time, and that will be part of our gathering. The other part that also shapes it is the teaching of Jesus from Matthew chapter 5, which is known in general as the Sermon on the Mount or the Beatitudes. And I want to read a passage there from Matthew 5 as I begin. When Jesus saw the crowds, he went up the mountain, and after he sat down, his disciples came to him. Then he began to speak and taught them, saying, "Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are the meek, for they will inherit the earth." I'm sorry, I missed one. "Blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they will be filled. Blessed are the merciful, for they will receive mercy. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they will see God. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called children of God. Blessed are those who are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are you when people revile you and persecute you and utter all kinds of evil against you, falsely on my account. Rejoice and be glad, for your reward is great in heaven, for in the same way they persecuted the prophets who were before you." And then a contemporary reading of grace called A Community of Faith by Marjorie Hewitt Suchoki. A peculiar thing about a community of faith is that it unites people who might otherwise not come together. It usually takes us beyond our togetherness with people close to us, like family and friends, and unites us with all sorts of others. This becomes a proving ground for learning to care for others beyond our own circle, expanding the edges of that circle. This openness to one another's good and to the common good beyond even our own community is also openness to God. My witness to the word this morning picks up particularly on the Beatitudes, and I've called it Alternative Blessings, Alternative Wisdom. Alternative is an interesting word, isn't it? And my decision to use it in the title today was deliberate, but it took a bit of thinking before I was comfortable to do so. I was a bit cautious because these days it seems to me that the word carries a bit of baggage. Alternative lifestyle, for instance, can mean all kinds of things, but it's often used as a kind of put down or a throwaway generalisation. And then, of course, recent years and recent politics have introduced us to the novel concept of alternative facts that we used to call lies. The other caution in my head as I thought about this was the fact that by itself the word alternative is a little incomplete. It's kind of meaningless unless we add the words to what? Alternative to what lifestyle? Alternative to what facts? Funnily enough though, this became the reason I decided to go with alternative, because I've become convinced over the years that it's a really good word to describe Jesus of Nazareth and the way he lived all those years ago. And the to what? Alternative to the way of empire under which he and his people lived in occupied Judea or Palestine. Alternative to the institutions of society and religion, which oppressed or ignored or dehumanised people, sometimes in the name of God. And alternative to that very human game which has been played across the centuries in all kinds of contexts and situations, blaming the victim. Jesus was alternative. He lived it, he taught it, and he practiced it. We see that in many places in the Gospels, and I reckon one of the best examples of it is the passage from Matthew's Gospel that I just read, called the Beatitudes. As I see it, these are most definitely alternative blessings and alternative wisdom. They're alternative because of the people on whom Jesus invites holy blessings and because of the blessings themselves. Now, to understand this, we need to remember that in his time and culture, life's good and bad fortunes were regarded as either a blessing or a curse by God. If you were wealthy, for example, God had decided you deserved it. If you were destitute, the same applied, blaming the victim. So for Jesus to come out and say things like, "Blessed are those who are poor in spirit," or "Blessed are those who are meek," was alternative, to say the least. Crazy would be another expression. Imagine you're in the crowd. And for those familiar with Monty Python's Life of Brian, try and put the words "blessed are the cheesemakers" out of your head. Blessed are the poor in spirit. What? They should just cheer up and get on with it. Blessed are the meek. Well, it's a dog-eat-dog world out there. Toughen up, princess. And anyway, if they're in trouble, it's the will of God. Jesus' view was definitely alternative to this. As we look at his culture and as we look at ours. And the blessings themselves. For what? For they will see God. Well, that's not going to pay their bills. For they will be called children of God. Big deal, so what? The meek inheriting the earth, dream on. Just don't get in my way or try and stop me doing what I want. Then and now, alternative blessings, alternative wisdom. I like the Beatitudes. I imagine most of us or all of us do. And because we do, I think it's really important that we hear them as the radical and yes, alternative blessings that they were for Jesus' day and for ours. And as we hear them, let's also remember that each of us just might be part of the way that the blessing is made real for somebody else. Amen. May it be so. In the name of the Holy Presence, in whom we live and move and have our being. Amen.